It was at Windsor Castle that they fell in love. It was wartime. The young Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten spent his leave at the castle, visiting the then Princess Elizabeth. They were married in 1947. They spent many of the happiest moments of their 73 years together at Windsor. And it was within the ancient walls of this castle that the nation paid its final tributes. Drawn up in the spring sunshine on the castle's quadrangle were the military detachments, regiments and other service contingents with which the Duke had a particular connection. The scale was smaller than would have been the case without the pandemic, though that's hardly something that would have troubled him. He, after all, had choreographed much of what was to follow. The Land Rover hearse, which the Duke had helped to design, moved to its position by the state entrance. The Duke's coffin was borne by a bearer party from the Grenadier Guards. The coffin was covered with his personal standard and surmounted with his sword and naval cap. With great care, it was placed on the hearse. Behind the hearse were members of the royal family who were walking to the chapel, headed by the Prince of Wales. And then the first sight of the Queen, accompanied by a lady-in-waiting in the state Bentley, taking its position at the rear of the procession as the hearse set off. Among the members of the family walking behind the coffin were Princes William and Harry, the focus of much attention, not walking side by side, but with their cousin Peter Phillips between them. The procession wound its way down the gentle hill of the castle towards St. George's Chapel. At the west steps of the chapel, a bearer party from the Royal Marines removed the coffin from the hearse to take it up the steps to the chapel. Inside St. George's, the Queen took her place in the choir. Before entering the west doors, the bearer party paused for the minute's silence, signalled by a field gun fired by the Royal Horse Artillery. The coffin was borne into the chapel and placed on the catafalque. Around it, the 30 members of the congregation, all of them masked. The bidding was delivered by the Dean of Windsor.
With grateful hearts, we remember the many ways in which his long life has been a blessing to us. We have been inspired by his unwavering loyalty to our Queen, by his service to the nation and the Commonwealth, by his courage, fortitude and faith.
All the music had been chosen by the Duke. The first hymn, sung by the choir of 4, was the Mariner's Hymn, For Those in Peril on the Sea. The small congregation sat in its family groups. The Queen sat alone. So too did Prince Harry. After the prayers and the commendation, a distinctive touch typical of the Duke, Royal Marine buglers sounded the Royal Navy's call to action stations. And finally, at the end of her husband's funeral, the choir sang the national anthem. Seldom can its words have had greater poignancy. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News.